Steak and cheese stromboli. And here I'm beginning to melt down a little bit of butter so I can saute some onions, green peppers, mushrooms, and bacon. I add the bacon in with the saute in order to add a little bit of salt to it. I first start off with your basic vegetables, begin sauteing them down, and as they begin to cook and caramelize, I toss in the bacon for the salty flavor. I always like to start the bacon off to the side. As it begins to cook and cook down, I mix it together, but first I want to keep it separate. It's just me, I don't know why. But a steak and cheese stromboli, or any stromboli, is the Italian's version of a good sandwich. You got a nice, warm, cheese melted sandwich. I don't know a way to say it. And as you can see here, the bacon is caramelizing nicely and helping to cook the peppers. Everything is melding together, and I should be starting the steak in a moment. In traditional, I normally start with about a pound and a half of steak, seasoned, cooked. Once it's fully cooked and I know it's good, I pull it out of the grease and I put it in a container with Worcestershire sauce. As the meat begins to cool, it'll begin to pull back in juices. So what else? The best thing to do is put in some Worcestershire sauce. Here I'm beginning to set flour. Yeah, it takes a lot of flour. And begin to roll the dough. Well, knead the dough, then roll the dough. It's a process. It takes a minute, but it's fun. And it makes for good dough. I used to have a cheap wooden roller. I decided to go out and buy a very expensive $30 heavyweight, I think the thing weighs like 5 pounds roller, but it makes everything go so much faster. As I begin to basically roll out the dough to begin and if people didn't know, I'm not the greatest at making videos. I'm trying to literally do this on the fly. There will be a lot of video editing and a lot of audio editing afterwards. And I try to roll it out into a square versus a circle. A traditional pizza will be in a circle, where a stromboli, you're making a fold-over sandwich, so you want it kind of squarish. I also tend to roll it a little thin. I don't like really thick crust. It's just my preference. Like when I order pizza, I tend to get a very thin crust. I'm cutting off the excess, making sure everything looks nice and thin. Here, a little bit of seasoning, cheese, and a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, which you'll now see me adding. It not only takes away from the floury, but it puts a little bit of flavor on the dough. I am making myself hungry watching this. I try to pat it on generously to make sure that the dough is not just flaky white dough. A little bit of flavor. God, I'm really not good at doing audio commentary. Wow, man, it's I need to cut this section. Nevertheless, now that the dough has a good amount of Worcestershire flavoring on it, I begin putting on a little bit of seasoning and a mound of cheese. Okay, let's be honest. It's cheese. A little provolone, shredded mozzarella, a lot of shredded mozzarella. And don't worry, I'll be putting on mozzarella afterwards, because there is no way you can go wrong with cheese. A little bit of seasoning. Add a little bit of flavor to the stromboli. Next comes the meat. And perhaps this is one of the moments where I should have edited out in the video. Yep, definitely a part I should edit out in the video. Now comes the sauteed peppers, bacon, half on the first layer, spread out evenly as possible. Bacon. Oh yeah, definitely going to be adding that a little bit more out. Here I'm beginning to take the steak, put it in Worcestershire sauce while it's still just fresh out the pan and hot. Place it down on the Stromboli, spreading it out, making sure that each piece get as much liquid as possible, because as I said before, as the steak begins to cool, it draws back in juices, so you see the steak sauce disappear. In fact, I had to go get some more, place some more back into the plate so I can do it again. I think I had to do it 3 times in order to make sure every single ounce of it gets a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And I am quite generous with the steak. I don't put in just a few ounces, or 0.7 ounces is more than enough. I put in a good amount of everything, because in the end, I'm going to treat you like I would if you was family at my house eating. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to have a full stomach, and I want you to walk away happy. Speaking of which, did I tell you I put a lot of cheese on? I mean, a lot of cheese on. Yeah. Hey, look, I had a little bit of steak left. Let's toss that in there too. Lord, I am making myself hungry watching this. Nevertheless, this is a section to edit a little bit more out of. Now comes the harder part for me, which is called rolling a Stromboli. I tend to roll it over top of itself so that you're going to have more than one overall layer of dough, and then 2 corners I can cut off. The difficulty is when it gets so big, you got to be careful not to break the dough. So you have to be very gentle and push and roll and push and roll and push and roll. And it does create a little bit of extra dough on the inside, but it makes for a very evened out outside Stromboli. Here I'm just making it look pretty. And this is a finished product Stromboli that someone ordered. I cut 2 slits allowing the air to escape so that it doesn't continuously expand on the inside. Toss a little bit of seasoning on top, fold over, seal it up. And this is one for myself. Tossing it in the oven at 350, 375. Who am I kidding? 420 for like 10 to 15 minutes. Taking it out after about 7 to 10 minutes to oil it so that the outside crust doesn't come out completely white, because it's flour. So I take a little bit of the oil that drips out from the everything, rub it across the top. If that doesn't work, you can try egg wash, a little bit of oil, olive oil, even butter. Anything to allow the crust to brown into a golden brown. Once that's done, put it back in for another good 8 to 10 minutes. Allow it to finish browning. Here's a Stromboli I made for myself. And at this point, you see there's a beautiful caramelized brown on the top. I like to finish it off with a lot of cheese on top. Turn the oven off. Allow the cheese to melt across the top of the Stromboli so that there's even more cheese involved. Hopefully yours turn out this way. I'm trying my best to make sure that everybody knows my steps, as well as how to make a good Stromboli, so that you can have a very, very nice dinner.